Good morning and welcome to the 2022 GRQC Reviewer Training Session. This recording is being done to help all reviewers, new and returning reviewers, to help all reviewers learn about what they need to do on a site visit from start to finish, from application receipt through scoring the application and writing the feedback report. So welcome. My name is Michael Caceci. I'm the GRQC board chair and also will serve as the application coordinator for the award process this year. As part of the package, you're going to receive this recording as a link, and I'm going to ask you to watch this recording. In addition, you will be receiving a document called a GRQC training guide. It's a detailed document, everything you need to know about being a reviewer and what you need to do on in the process, and this slide presentation in PDF format. So I'm going to take you through a slide presentation now, and pardon the low quality video recording, but we kind of operate on a limited budget. The reason we're doing this virtual and sending you this information through a recording as well as printed documents is we feel it's more effective to have you do self-paced learning as a reviewer. And then I'll be available for any questions you may have. You can call me at any time. So I'll get into more details on that. So what I'm going to do now is share my screen, and I'm going to get started on the presentation. So again, thank you for joining us. And I really appreciate your being a reviewer. To all of the reviewers, new and returning, you are an integral part of this whole process. So I'm going to take you through the agenda now, and I will try to complete this recording within 60 minutes. And so this is what we're going to cover. Welcome. 2022, I'm going to give you an overview of the 2022 Performance Excellence Awards because there have been a number of changes from past years. So if you're a returning reviewer, you're going to notice that. We're going to go through how to conduct a site visit, cover your roles and responsibilities as reviewers, including the lead reviewer role, how to score an application after the site visit, determining the score, and how to write a feedback report. In addition, you are going to be receiving documents that we've created to help reviewers during the site visit and also in drafting the feedback report. So I'll cover those as part of this training session, and you'll be receiving those by email as well. So again, I want to welcome you to the Performance Excellence Awards program. For new reviewers, this is really going to be a great learning experience and a professional development opportunity for you. If it's the first time you're doing this, I think you're going to find it to be quite rewarding. To returning reviewers, really appreciate your continued support. So welcome back. And note that there are a number of significant changes to the award program. We've made enhancements based on taking 2021 and evaluating what we had been doing and how we could make it better. And we did a lot of research, voice of the customer research, and talked to past winners, potential applicants, to find out what we could do differently. And we also wanted to make it a more robust, but at the same time, a streamlined process for all involved. Now, it's important, again, to complete the training prior to the site visit. So once you receive this video along with the supporting documents, I ask that you take the time, schedule out the time to really learn what you need to do as a reviewer. You can spread the learning out over a period of time. You will have received this by the middle of May. The site visits won't start until June. So you have an opportunity to spend some time learning how to be a reviewer. This, again, is self-paced training. You get this presentation. I'm going to send the slide presentation that you see today, and also the training guide. I am always available for any questions. Here's my contact information, my phone, and my email. Please don't hesitate to call me. If you have any questions, I will respond as quickly as possible, and I'm happy to give you one-on-one consultation. I also want to emphasize that this presentation does mirror the training guide that you will receive, but I have to emphasize, read the guide. It is more detailed than what I'm going to share today. And I also want to emphasize that all reviewers should download the application templates from our website, which is at grqc.org. I ask that you read them, particularly once you're assigned to a specific category. You're going to want to read the application, read the blank template so you understand the questions. And this is really part of your training program. So let's start with the Performance Excellence Awards. I want to give you an overview of the awards themselves. The awards are modeled on the Baldrige frameworks for performance excellence, as well as the award program. Not exactly, there are some differences, and as well as so similar to the Baldrige process, which has been around since 1989, the applicants submit a written application, and then a team of reviewers, if that application is accepted. In the case of Baldrige, we accept all applications. The site visit that you're going to be doing verifies and clarifies the contents of that application, and that's really your focus. There's a standard set of criteria that are used by the applicant to complete their application, and they're also assessed against those criteria, and there's a scoring process. And then you can have multiple winners, both in the Baldrige process as well as in GRQC's Performance Excellence Awards. And again, applicants are measured against the criteria. They're not competing with each other. So you can have multiple winners in both award programs. Now, some of the differences are really that for us, all applicants will receive a site visit and feedback report. That's not the case with Baldrige. With Baldrige, your application has to meet a certain level before they would assign a site visit team to review. The awards also, we offer multiple levels of recognition, which I'm going to cover in this presentation. Baldrige, it's just win it or not. And then we offer 3 award categories, which I'll go into more detail. And the Baldrige Award is really just one award. So we have opportunities, and each one of those categories has a specific purpose. We have opportunities for applicants to apply in those categories. And then in the case of GRQC, one organization can submit multiple applications. For example, they can submit an Organizational Excellence Award, they can submit a Team Excellence Award, they can submit 2 or 3 Team Excellence Awards, and you may find that in your experience as a reviewer. Now we offer, again, GRQC offers multiple levels of award recognition. The most common are gold, silver, and bronze. So similar to the Olympics, we have different levels of recognition based on the scoring process that results from both reading the application and conducting the site visit. There are some other levels, 2 other levels that we've developed over the last few years, and this is consistent with past years. The Pathfinder Award is given at our Performance Excellence Awards showcase event in October. If we found that an applicant is maybe early on their quality journey, but they're making good efforts and there's some limited progress underway, but they're not quite at the bronze level, we want to recognize them for their efforts and the progress that they're making. So they may receive the Pathfinder Award. We also have developed an award called Platinum, which is really called the George Hansen Award for Exemplary Performance. And this is a special recognition. We have come across on occasion situations where an applicant, we read the application, the team went on the site visit, and what they discovered was actually exceeding what the expectations were in the application, and they scored exceedingly high. So we developed this for those occasional situations where the applicant has really just is doing even more than maybe they even realize. So we reserve that. So these are the levels of recognition. Please be familiar with those. We have also, this is new, with regards to the awards program, we have developed a numerical scoring range. We always had an objective scoring process, but this one gets more like the Baldrige scoring ranges in that we have a 1,000-point system. And you can see here that the scoring ranges will help to determine the level of recognition. So if an applicant scores between 400 and 500, for example, let's say they come in at 460, 470, they'll be most likely a bronze winner. If the scoring is in the 600 to 700 range, most likely a gold winner. If it's over 700, we're going to start talking about the possibility of platinum. But again, that's not guaranteed because it would be really a number of factors that would go into that. But this gives the awards committee and the reviewers the opportunity to really level set where the recognition should fall at. Now, there are 3 award categories. I mentioned that earlier in this presentation that we have 3 categories, sometimes referred to as award types. The first is organizational excellence. The next one is team excellence and customer experience. Now, organizational excellence, this is new for 2022. We had a different category that we called operations excellence, but we've replaced that with organizational excellence. And this one really is, and I'll go into this in more detail, is more of a holistic view of an organization. This is the one that's very similar to a Baldrige award program and the criteria. Customer experience also has a new name. We've had this before called customer excellence, but we feel that the customer experience better reflects what this award is all about. And we've also changed the criteria or updated the criteria with the application template. And then we've standardized our process because now all applicants for whichever category they are applying for, organizational, team, or customer, they will complete a standardized application template. This is also new for 2022. And each template contains specific questions and requests specific information for results data. We're going to talk about the Organizational Excellence Award. Again, modeled after the Baldrige Award, but simpler. We have fewer questions. We encourage applicants to provide brief answers to those questions. And so that makes it simpler for them. Baldrige has been perceived as being more complex to complete. Ours is robust, but it's a simpler process. And this award focuses on how the applicant leads, manages, and achieves the results based on what they're doing to manage the entire organization. Now, an organization doesn't have to be the whole company, the whole hospital system. It can be an entity such as that, but it can also be a division, a subsidiary. It could be a major department within the organization. In a hospital setting, it could be a ward. It could be a floor that specializes in a certain area of medicine. It could be a manufacturing plant within a larger company. It could be a sales region, those kinds of things. So it really is organization is a broad term. Now, in this award, there are 7 categories: leadership, strategy, customers, measurement, analysis, and knowledge management, workforce, operations, and the 7th one is results. The first 6 are considered process categories, meaning how does the organization operate? What are their processes to operate? And then the results flow from that. This award contains application contains questions in each category. And this graph or this table shows you the number of questions by category. So for example, leadership has 3 questions that are required. In addition, there's an optional question that the applicant can complete if they're able to do so, and we would encourage that. But at the very minimum, they need to answer the 3 required questions. So you can see leadership has a total of 4 questions, 3 required, 1 optional. So in this application, if you are assigned to an organizational excellence applicant, you're going to be looking at least 18 answers to 18 questions and possibly any number of optional questions up to 6. They'll be responding to those. And then there are results that are required, and we ask for specific results. And those results are going to vary. If it's a for-profit business applicant, those results will be different than if it's healthcare or nonprofit. And we account for that in the application. Now, let's talk about scoring, because scoring is similar across all 3 award categories, but there are some nuances. Okay, in terms of scoring levels, we're very consistent. Applicants will be scored for process on a scale of 1 through 4. Same thing with results, 1 through 4. So obviously the higher number, the more mature, the more robust, the more, the more they're doing in a positive sense. So when you get into the scoring, you're going to see that as you read the application and you conduct the site visit, you're going to make a determination as to what level they are is the applicant at a specific point in responding to that category. So you can see here, so if 1 or 2 required items in the application were described and well deployed on your visit, you might give them a 1. If all 3 required items are described and well deployed, you give them a 2. If they're doing an outstanding job on both the description in the application and doing what they said they would do and answered all the 3 required questions and the optional item, that optional question is described, you'd get they would rank a 4. And these are for results. You have similar guidelines that you can see here, and I won't read them all, for you. You can do that when you read the manual. But you can use this scoring level for results as well. So, for example, if they're really outstanding, if they're exceeding and you're seeing positive trends, and they've answered optional results, that would score a 4. Now, here's where you see that it come into play. So we use a 1,000-point scale, and it's weighted 700 points up to 700 points towards the process category and up to 300 points for results. So each category inside the award, leadership, strategy, customers, etc., there's a weighting. So 30% weighted on of the 700, okay, towards leadership. If the maximum is 4, they would get up to 120. If it was 3, they'd get 90, etc. So fairly simple. I think you understand that. Team excellence. Let's move on to team excellence. Now, the Team Excellence Award has been modified. Again, we've had this for years, but the big change is that there's now a template, application template, and we're asking for very specific information with regards to the teams. So this focuses on how and why the organization uses teams as a way of achieving continuous improvement and accomplishing their goals. And we look at also how people are collaborating on the team to achieve those goals. And you'll see this when you download the application and read through it, it'll become evident for you. So we want to understand things like how the team was formed and why the team was formed, how the team leadership has worked with the team as well as the sponsors, what tools and methodologies are used. Sometimes that's Lean Six Sigma tools and methodologies. It could be project management tools. We're not prescriptive. We're not looking for anything specific. We want to understand why they use these particular methodologies and how they deployed them. And does that drive the results? So again, new for 2022, there's a template with specific questions that have to be answered. And you'll see that there are 5 categories. 4 of them are process, 1 of them results. Here's where you see, now this has fewer questions than organizational excellence. You'll see that we ask for team description and purpose. This is very much like a project charter. If you've ever done a project or done Lean Six Sigma, you will see that a project charter, we want to get some basic information up front about the team. So that's the first category. That's why you see multi-part here. Then we ask questions about the team's leadership. We ask about project management methods, tools, and use of data. You can see there are 4 questions for that. And also voice of the customer. How do they gather voice of the customer? So you will see 15 total questions. And then you will see a section for results, but the responses will vary based on the specific project. Again, a similar scoring process is used. There's process guidelines and results guidelines. Scoring is 1 through 4. Very similar to organizational excellence. I'll give you a moment to read that. And then the weighting for the team scoring, team excellence scoring. The team description and purpose is weighted 25. The team leadership weighted 60, project management method 60. You can see how that goes. Results 75. So that's how it totals up to 1,000 points, if it's a maximum score. Okay, using this example as a maximum score. Customer experience. The Customer Experience Award, this recognizes organizations that are demonstrating a customer-first mindset. And it's not just what are their customer satisfaction and loyalty scores. We really want to understand what is the culture that they've created to drive their high scores, if they're measuring it, assuming through customer satisfaction and loyalty surveys and things like that. We want to understand how the organization operates and what are they doing to continuously look to improve the customer experience. So again, customers are any of the people who are served by that organization. So in for-profit businesses, they could be B2B, business to business. They could be their business clients. They could be consumers. If a retailer or a business to consumer organization applied, we would want to know how are they treating their consumers. If it's the hospital or healthcare setting, nursing homes, etc., we're looking to how do they treat their patients, residents. If it's education, students and parents are obviously customers. If it's in government, it would be constituents. If it's professional services, it could be clients. So these are the kinds of, anyone of those can be customers. Now, again, I mentioned this earlier that the name change is now customer experience. We're using a template. And now we have a template that consists of 7 categories, 6 for process and 1 for results. See them here. So category 1, customer experience strategy. We're looking at what is the overall strategy for the organization with regards to creating a great customer experience. And you will see that we have required questions and optional questions in this particular type of award. And I'll give you a moment to look those over. So you will see that there are 8 required process questions, 2 optional, for a total of 10 potential questions in that application that you would be reading if you're assigned a customer experience applicant. And then we have customer experience results, which will vary by the type of business or nonprofit or healthcare applicant that it would be. Again, with the scoring, you're going to see process and results, similar 1 through 4 scale, process guidelines and results guidelines. And here you see this, the weighted scoring. Customer experience strategy is weighted 35 times 4, okay. Possible max would be 140, voice of the customer. So you're going to have this with, when you're doing the site visit and the scoring, you're going to have this information available to you, and you're going to assign a score, again, 1 through 4 in terms of the of each one of these categories. Okay, I want to move on to conducting a site visit. Now, the purpose of a site visit, and this is a critical part of being a reviewer, obviously, a major part of it, is what we're looking for you to do is to clarify. You're going to read the application up front, and you're going to learn from the application. You're going to take notes, and I'm going to talk more about this in terms of your roles and responsibilities. But the purpose of the site visit really is to clarify and verify what the applicant wrote and that you read prior to the visit. You know, their approaches, how pervasive or is deployment of what they say they do, and what results are they getting. We obviously go from the position of the applicant is submitting a fairly accurate description of what they actually do, but we do need to clarify any areas of uncertainty or any issues that you may have as a reviewer when you initially read the application prior to the visit. And we want to verify the accuracy of that application. We want to make sure, you're probably going to get an application. There'll be some questions about data, results. You might, some things might be unclear to you. They might not fully describe certain points of processes in their application. And when you get on site, you want to ask questions about that. So that's the purpose of the site visit, verifying and clarifying. So essentially, do they do what they described in the application? And by this, you want to focus on what's the approach that they take, their methodologies, their tools, their processes. How pervasive are they deploying what they say they do? Sometimes we discover that a process is described in an application, but it's only recently been enacted. So it may not have time to really know what the results are flowing from that. You need to understand that once you go into the site visit, you will learn to what degree certain processes have been in place and how are they monitored and how they are improved, for example. So approach, deployment, and then results. This is critically important. Are the results flowing from what the organization does, what it described in terms of its processes? Sometimes organizations are getting great results in spite of themselves because they might have a product that's in demand, services that are in demand, and their business is growing, even though the processes are not particularly efficient or effective. We need to understand that. So let's talk about conducting an effective visit. It's very important to plan. So pre-visit planning. Number one, read the application. When you receive the application, which you'll get in an email from me, read it in detail. Highlight any areas that you feel require verification or clarification. Take notes on it. Print it out. I recommend you print the application and start taking some notes. Also start thinking about the questions you want to ask prior to going into a site visit. It's helpful to have 5 or 6 questions that you want to ask, and they're going to come out of reading the application. You're going to develop your questions. We are providing to all reviewers a document called the Reviewer Preparation and Evaluation Aid. This is a template that you can use to document any issues you have in reading the application and any questions you might have. Again, I recommend you print that out or type your questions into it and print it out and bring it with you on the visit. Now, a lead reviewer for every team will be appointed, and that lead reviewer should hold a pre-visit call with the team. And most teams will consist of the lead reviewer and 1 or 2 other reviewers. So a 2 or 3 person team. Hold that pre-visit call, understand your roles and responsibilities, and the lead reviewer should be working with the applicant to draft a site visit agenda in advance. And we'll talk more about that, but you definitely want to stick to the agenda. So once that's done, you want to make sure that the lead reviewer is contacting the applicant both to finalize the agenda and schedule the date and time for the visit. And visits can be, we'll talk about this, visits can be in person or virtual, depending on the situation and whether or not there's an actual need to go on site. In terms of the actual site visit, I highly recommend that you bring a copy of the application for reference purposes. The one you printed out, the one with your notes on it, could be very helpful to have it with you. Also bring your reviewer preparation and evaluation template with your questions and areas of focus, okay? Follow the agenda that you've created with the applicant. Stick to the time, stick to the topics. And before ending the visit, briefly share next steps in the process, which are outlined on page 15 of the training guide. These are, I'm not going to go into them in detail, but sorry about that. But basically, you want to explain to the team explain to the applicant what you will be doing in terms of the process that's going to follow the visit, the scoring, the review by the committee to determine that score, and then that the announcement will be made at our October Performance Excellence and Showcase event. You will also ask the applicant to prepare an exhibit for that event. When they attend to receive their awards, we provide a table, an exhibit table, and ask that they prepare a brief storyboard that they can share their project, their application. It's a team excellence, organizational excellence, so that all the other finalists in this process can learn from each other. Okay, I want to just cover some brief do's and don'ts for conducting an effective site visit. This is important. Ask the application. So I'll start with the do's. Ask the applicant for a roster of the participants that will be in the meetings with you that need to be part of the site visit. Get that roster in advance, both their names and titles, so that you'll know who you should expect to be meeting with during the visit. Do some homework in advance. It's okay to do research on the applicant. The internet's a wonderful thing. Go to their website, get to know the applicant's overall business, so be familiar with them. Again, I mentioned this earlier, be sure to plan for the site visit. Plan effectively with all the pre-visit preparation. You should be confident going in, knowing what questions you want to ask. This is important to start and end on time. The lead reviewer is responsible for this. Manage and control that agenda very well, and you'll be fine. It's okay to ask for information. You want to see supporting documentation. You want to see information during the visit to clarify and verify. So if someone shows you results in an application, it's fine to ask, well, can I see the database that you use to get that information? Can I see the reports that you use to monitor business results? And then this is very important. Document in the moment, take notes, what you're learning on the site visit, because it's going to be very helpful when it comes time to score and write the feedback statements that I'm going to be talking about in a moment. Now, the team leader is the sole point of contact for the applicant. So the team leader is responsible for communication. So just keep it to the team leader to communicate with the applicant as well as to me as the application coordinator. It's important that you maintain objectivity. Okay. Also, in advance, find out if they have any policies with regards to bringing your cell phones or laptops to, if it's an on-site visit. Some security issues there might be some security issues. So find out about that in advance. And don't just stick to your predetermined questions. It's great to ask spontaneous questions during a visit, because during the conversation, you're going to uncover information. So you can ask questions to build and dig in a little bit deeper. Okay. Obviously, maintain courtesy and professionalism, and always stick to evaluating the applicant based on the criteria. Do your best to remain objective and don't interject your own opinions about how they should be doing things. We're not there to consult or tell them what to do. We are there to verify and clarify what they provided to us in the application. Again, don't discuss your own personal observations while you're there. You want to be as objective as possible, and don't discuss any specific findings. We'll talk about this at the end of the visit in the closeout meeting. You don't want to discuss specifics about where they might be in terms of the scoring. You want to keep it, and the lead reviewer is responsible for doing this, to general themes. What did you generally see during the visit? And these are going to give the applicant some feedback as to what you found, but you don't want to be too specific. Do not give advice or suggest solutions. If you observe something that you don't think is right, or it's a process could be done better, that's not your place to give advice or offer suggestions to make it better. Certainly not on the site visit. And even when you write feedback statements, you want to be as non-prescriptive as possible. We don't accept gifts of any type. Obviously, if someone offers you a pen to help write, if you forgot your pen, you're fine with that. But we want to keep this. No gifts of any type. Try to stay, be friendly and professional, but stay very grounded. Don't let your nonverbals give away how you're feeling. If you see something good, bad, or otherwise, Just be very objective throughout. Also, don't take any materials from the site. Don't ask for information to take off site unless the applicant gives you permission and wants you to take it. I think this is a very, very rare situation. Don't think you would have to review any of their materials off-site. You can do everything during the visit. So just additional guidelines. This is not in the training guide itself, but here's some examples of generic questions once you're on site doing the site visit. You know, how do you do something? You know, what's your process? How have you improved the process? You know, why do you do it this way? You could, you know, just some generics. You can get more specific, obviously, based on the application, okay? Again, what we're looking for is proper use of tools, approaches, that the results are sustained over time. We're looking for levels of leadership involvement, and across all 3 award types, there would be leadership involvement. We are looking for benchmarking, could be comparisons to their own performance over time, comparisons to their industries, comparisons to their competitors. Those are always helpful. And we're also looking for things like engagement of employees and how, you know, their ownership of the process, their ownership of the results. Here's some general guidelines for results. What are you looking for at results? Do the results align with the organization's goals? Is there a significant trend taking place? Hopefully a positive trend. Do they use comparative data? What is the rate of improvement? Things like that. You want to make sure the data that they provided in the application is relevant to what you're seeing on site, and that when they make a statement about the performance, that they can back it up with data. So again, you can see here what we're looking for. Multiple year trends, could be multiple quarters over time. It's also a matter of what that data, you know, is reporting. Sometimes years are important, sometimes quarters are important, sometimes months are important in terms of trends. But you want to look for the direction of the results and rates of change. That will give you an idea of how much they're improving. And of course, if you have any uncertainty, sometimes we get an application that doesn't have clearly labeled graphs or charts. You want to go in and really understand. If you received an application with charts and graphs and it's labeled in a way that you don't quite understand, ask for clarification on that. Okay, I want to move on to roles and responsibilities, which I've sort of covered with the site visit process. Let's start with the lead reviewer. The lead reviewer is the key contact for the applicant, as I mentioned earlier. That's an additional responsibility the lead reviewer is willing to take. Also the key contact for me as the application coordinator. The lead reviewer will determine the site visit format and the agenda in consultation with the applicant, of course. They also are responsible making sure every reviewer on the team is ready for the visit, that you've all done your training, you've all done read the application, you've got your questions prepared. The lead reviewer facilitates the site visit, does not dominate the site visit. All reviewers should be asking questions and participating. The lead reviewer does gather the post-visit feedback from the team and will gather the scoring and will actually lead a consensus scoring process. And then the lead reviewer will review and edit all feedback statements that are written by the team, including his or her own, and puts the feedback report together using a template that we are providing. And critically important, the lead reviewer does not share the feedback report to the applicant until after the awards have been announced and presented in October. Roles and responsibilities. Read the training guide you're going to receive cover to cover. It is detailed, but it's very, very helpful. So become very familiar with it. Download those templates. Learn about the different awards, the criteria, the questions, the scoring method. So sometimes it takes 2 or 3 reviews to get it down. You're responsible, obviously, for conducting the visit, scoring the application, writing the feedback statements. I won't go into details, but you'll see on page 18 in the guide what we consider traits for good reviewers, preparing for the visit, and some site visit tips. Okay, let's move on to determining the score. So for scoring, once the visit has been done, the lead reviewer should set the deadline for getting the scores, reaching consensus, and writing the feedback statements. I recommend that these are done within 7 days post-visit for a couple of reasons. The visit is fresh in everybody's minds. You've taken notes. If you sit down, a day later and start, do your scoring, review your notes, start to develop your feedback statements, which we'll talk about, that's going to be more helpful than if you put it off, because time will decay your memory somewhat and you might struggle a little bit. So do it within 7 days if it's possible. The reviewers score the application independently using the guidelines and the rubrics. Then there's a consensus meeting led by the lead reviewer in which you focus on, if there are differences in scoring of a criteria, you want to come to consensus. Discuss, why did someone come up with, 90 points and someone came up with 120 points? What's the differential there and why? Okay. And then you might reach a compromise in terms of okay. And I do recommend that you don't split the baby, so to speak. If it's a 3, it's a 3, it's a 4, it's a 4. Okay. Don't average the 2 if you can avoid that. Okay. Some reviewers take a different view of that. But my recommendation is that you figure out what you want to do with regards to scoring. With that, go 3 or 4, but I'll leave that up to the lead reviewers. So reach that consensus. The lead reviewer calculates the total score. I recommend you use the reviewer preparation and evaluation template. Save that as a file and send the score to me. Here's the scoring. Here are the guidelines I went over earlier. From the template, you will see the reviewer score and the totals, okay, for organizational excellence. Here's the scoring for team excellence, the guidelines, the scoring rubric, come up with results. Scoring for the customer experience, guidelines, and the rubric. And now I'm going to move on to the feedback report. Now, all reviewers, each applicant gets a feedback report, and the feedback report is highly valuable to the applicants, and it's one of the value adds of our award program, because it's an opportunity for the applicant to learn what did we find as a result as our visit. We are third-party objective reviewers, and it's very helpful for them to learn what we found. Now, all reviewers are responsible for writing feedback statements, and these feedback statements need to be written in a certain way. The lead, which I'll talk about in a moment, the lead reviewer edits the statements and organizes the report. And again, we provide a template to do that. There are 3 sections in that template. There's the scoring section. There's a section to list strengths, feedback statements that describe strengths, and feedback statements that describe opportunities for improvement. There are no fixed number of statements required. Typically, a feedback report will have 4 to 8 strengths, 4 to 8 opportunities for improvement. So you might have a total of 8 to 16 statements in a feedback report. Again, don't send that report to the applicant until after the awards presentation in October. But this report, it's important how we write the statements, because we need to do them in a certain way so that it's a value to the applicant, but it's also, we want to do it in a way that it's not prescriptive. It's not telling the applicant how to operate their business. That's not our role. So as I've just mentioned, Strengths are opportunities for improvement. Strengths are noted with a plus, opportunities are noted with a minus at the beginning. Instead of a bullet point, that's what you would use. This is important. Good statements for the applicant should be actionable. That means they can do something with it. They can understand what we're saying, and they can do something as a result of that statement. It should be aligned with the application and what we found. The statement needs to be accurate. It has to reflect both the application and the site visit findings. And it should be an appropriate statement. It should be written in a way that's appropriate, professional, and relevant to the applicant. So suggestions for writing statements, again, on page 21 of the training guide, you will find a list of suggestions. I'm not going to go through all of them, but here are some highlights, what I consider to be the very important ones. Review the application and your site visit notes before you get started on writing statements. Go back and read your comments, the scoring. Write at least one statement for each category inside the application would be very helpful, at least as a starting point. You're doing this independently, okay, at first. So write a feedback statement based on what you found. If you can do one statement per category, that's great. And I've always used complete sentences, not bullets. I'm going to show a couple of examples momentarily. Focus on critical issues based on what you saw and found in the site visit. Be specific and objective, and critically important, non-prescriptive. Do not tell the applicant how to run the business. Be non-prescriptive. They should reflect the numerical score that they earned. So you're going to be more likely to write positive statements or have more positive statements in a high scoring application than you will with a low scoring application. And the lead reviewer has got to create some balance, in that regard. And again, these statements should be able to stand on their own. They should be understood by anyone reading a feedback statement without having knowledge of the application or the criteria, etc. They should be a statement that you'd say, I get that. So the applicant can do something with it. Here's an example of a feedback statement of a sample strength. And this follows the main idea of the statement is the first sentence. There's an example provided, which would have been from the application and the site visit. That's in red. And then the relevance to the applicant is noted in green. Again, I think this is a well-written statement. Here's an opportunity for improvement. Main idea is in blue, example is in red, relevance is in green. And notice it's written in a very objective manner. City of whatever does not have a systematic approach to listen to its business and potential customers or obtain actionable feedback. You can see that, very objective. And then it's showing an example as to why it doesn't have that, supporting that opening statement. And improving methods to listen to business customers will help city maintain its competitive position. Yes, that's telling the customer what it could do, it's advice, but it's not telling them what methods to use. So it's non-prescriptive, okay? It's just saying that improving the methods to listen would help. Here are two additional examples. These are much simpler. The sample strength, the sample opportunity, sometimes they are short. Sorry. Okay, let's talk about preparing the feedback report. The lead reviewer prepares the feedback report and will collect statements from all reviewers. They copy and paste it into one document, which should be the feedback report. There's a template provided. Separate the strengths and opportunities, obviously, two sections. You need to look for redundancies, and this can be done through a meeting. When you're doing the scoring, if you have the feedback statements, you can also go through this process. If there are similarities, if two reviewers found the same things and wrote similar statements, what you want to do is consolidate those, combine them, or eliminate one, or the other. Okay. Make sure your grammar, spelling, punctuation is clean and perfect. Use the proper terms. Don't use acronyms unless it's the applicant's acronyms. Okay. And then you want to strike that balance between strengths and opportunities, again, based on the score that was achieved. Higher scoring applications will probably have more positive feedback. Lower scoring applications are probably going to have a few more opportunities for improvement. Okay, let's talk about some key documents that you will be receiving. Here's the reviewer preparation and evaluation aid. This is a guide that's sent to all reviewers prior to the visits. Here's the feedback report template. That's also in the guide towards the end when you'll see these and I'll be sending these to the lead reviewer as well as a separate template. And I've included in the training guide a sample feedback report. So take time when you get the training guide to please read the feedback report that's in the back of the guide as well. And again, finally, please download the application templates. It will be very helpful to you to become familiar with them. You might end up doing, it's good to be familiar with all of them, but download all three. And then when you get assigned, let's say an organizational excellence application, focus on that one and make sure you know it really, really well. Okay, that's the presentation. I want to thank you all. This is my contact information, Michael Caceci, my phone number, my email. Feel free to contact me at any time. And I really thank you for listening and have a great day.